You make the wrong decisions. You're not stupid, so this is out of sync. Let me speak plainly to the part of you that has wondered about this strange contradiction. You have felt it, haven't you? That peculiar ache when you watch yourself choose what you know will harm you, when you see your own hand reaching for what you already know is poison, when you hear your voice saying yes to what every fiber of your being knows deserves a no. There is a war inside you, but it is not the war you think it is. It is not intelligence against ignorance. It is not wisdom against foolishness. It is something far more ancient, far more tender, far more worthy of your compassion than you have ever been taught to offer yourself. Walk with me through these moments, and you will begin to see that what you call your mistakes are actually the language of a soul trying desperately to be heard. The mind knows yes, but the heart remembers something the mind has forgotten, and that remembering is stronger than any logic you possess. It is the memory of every time you chose yourself and were punished for it, every time you spoke your truth and were silenced, every time you set a boundary and were told you were selfish, unloving too much. The mind is a lantern that illuminates the path ahead. You have this lantern. You hold it high. You see where the cliffs drop away into darkness. You see where the thorns grow thick across the road. You see where the bridge has rotted and will not hold your weight. And yet you walk toward the cliff. You push through the thorns. You step onto the rotting wood. This is not because your lantern has failed. This is not because you cannot see. The light is clear. The danger is obvious. But there is something older than sight that moves your feet, something deeper than knowledge that guides your hand. You are not failing to think. You are succeeding at feeling, and what you feel is a hunger that your mind cannot feed, a thirst that logic cannot quench, a loneliness that reason cannot touch. Your so-called wrong decisions are not errors of the intellect. They are the desperate prayers of an abandoned heart, the rituals of a spirit that learned long ago that some forms of suffering are more familiar than the terrifying uncertainty of joy. They are the evidence that you are still hoping, still believing, still trusting that if you just endure a little longer, perform a little better, love a little harder, the thing you have always needed will finally arrive. Consider the child who returns again and again to the parent who wounds them, who seeks love from the very hands that have shown only coldness. Is this child stupid? No. The child is faithful. The child is hope, walking on two small legs. The child believes that if they are good enough, sweet enough, quiet enough, the love will finally come. And inside you, there is still that child. Inside you, there is still that believer. You return to the relationships that diminish you because part of you still whispers that this time, if you are patient enough, present enough, perfect enough, they will finally see your worth. You reach for the substance, the distraction, the numbing comfort, not because you are weak, but because you are strong, so strong that you have carried pain you were never meant to carry alone. And now your soul is simply begging for rest in the only language it knows. You stay in the job that drains you. You accept the treatment you know you do not deserve. You silence your truth to keep a false peace, not because you lack intelligence, but because you possess something far more powerful and far more dangerous: the capacity to endure, the capacity to normalize what should never be normal, to adapt to what should never require adaptation, to survive conditions that should never be survivable. This capacity, this terrible gift of endurance, has become your prison. You learned early that survival meant swallowing your needs, that love was something you earned through self-erasure, that belonging required you to become less than you are. And so you became a master of diminishment, an expert in self-betrayal, fluent in the language of settling. You taught yourself to live on crumbs and call it a feast. You trained yourself to accept neglect and call it independence. You conditioned yourself to normalize abuse and call it complexity. And now, even when the table is set with nourishment, even when genuine love extends its hand, even when respect offers itself freely, you find yourself reaching past all of it, back toward the familiar hunger, the known pain, the understood wound. Not because you prefer suffering, but because you trust it. Suffering has been your longest relationship. It has never abandoned you. It has never surprised you. It is the only constant in a life of variables. And there is a twisted comfort in that constancy, a dark security in knowing exactly how much it will hurt. You have mapped this pain. You know its geography. You can navigate it in the dark. But joy, health, genuine love, these are foreign territories, and you do not speak their language, do not know their customs, do not trust that you will be welcome there. You are not out of sync with wisdom. You are perfectly in sync with wounds that have never been allowed to speak their names. Every choice that looks wrong from the outside is perfectly right when viewed from the inside, from the place where your unmet needs live, where your unhealed traumas make their home, where your unloved parts wait in the dark, hoping that maybe this time, maybe with this person, maybe through this experience, they will finally receive what they have always been denied. You do not lack knowing, you lack permission to honor what you know. You have been taught to override your inner voice with outer obligations, to suppress your authentic no with a pleasing yes, to betray your own clarity for the comfort of others. And so you become a stranger to yourself, a witness to your own life, watching in quiet horror as your hands do what your heart knows they should not do, as your mouth speaks words your soul never authorized, as your feet carry you toward destinations your spirit knows are desolate. You watch yourself make the choice. You know it is the wrong choice, and you make it anyway, not because you are broken, but because somewhere deep in your history, this choice, this pattern, this painful, familiar dance was the only one that kept you connected, kept you safe, kept you from being completely alone. The wound speaks louder than wisdom because the wound has never been heard. It does not need to be smarter. It needs to be seen. It does not need to be corrected. It needs to be held. When you reach for what hurts you, you are not being foolish. You are being loyal to a pain that has become so familiar, it feels like home. You are honoring a pattern that was written into your bones before you had words to name it. You are living out a story that was handed to you by hands you trusted, and you have read it so many times that even though you know the ending breaks your heart, you cannot imagine any other plot. This is not a failure of your mind. This is the faithfulness of your nervous system, which learned long ago that certain kinds of suffering are safer than the terrifying vulnerability of hope. That disappointment is more predictable than satisfaction, that rejection is easier to prepare for than acceptance. Your body is not sabotaging you. Your body is protecting you from the risk of wanting something good and discovering, once again, that good things are not for you. It is shielding you from the devastation of hope, disappointed, from the agony of reaching for love and finding emptiness, from the soul-crushing experience of believing you matter and discovering that to the people you needed most, you did not matter at all. You know better, yes, but knowing better and feeling safe enough to do better are not the same country. They do not even share a border. Knowing lives in the realm of thought, where everything is clear and bright and logical. But feeling lives in the body, in the bones, in the belly, in the blood. And the body remembers what the mind wants to forget. The body carries the history of every time you were punished for speaking your truth, every time you were abandoned for setting a boundary, every time you were shamed for needing what you needed. And so, when you stand at the crossroads between the healthy choice and the familiar wound, your mind says left, but your body pulls you right, back toward what it knows, even if what it knows is suffering. You are not stupid. You are trapped between two kinds of intelligence, and the older one, the one that lives beneath language, is simply trying to keep you alive in the only way it has ever learned. It is doing what all ancient systems do. It is repeating what worked once, even though the danger has passed, even though the war is over, even though you are finally safe. But safety is not something your body believes just because your circumstances have changed. Safety is something your body learns through repeated experience of being safe, through 1,000 small moments of choosing yourself and not being punished for it, of speaking your truth and not being abandoned, of setting a boundary and discovering that love does not leave when you take up space. But you do not feel safe. That is the truth beneath the truth. You do not feel safe in goodness because goodness is unfamiliar territory. You do not feel safe in health because health has no map, no history, no precedent in your experience. You do not feel safe in love that does not ask you to contort yourself because your entire understanding of love is based on contortion, on making yourself smaller, quieter, easier, less. And so when someone offers you love that says, come as you are, your nervous system sounds every alarm it possesses. This cannot be real. This cannot last. This is the moment before the betrayal. Better to betray yourself first, to leave before you are left, to wound before you are wounded, to choose the devil you know over the angel you do not trust. This is the mathematics of trauma. This is the logic of a heart that has been broken too many times to believe in wholeness. You are not choosing wrong. You are choosing what your history has taught you is inevitable. You are cutting your losses before the losses cut you. You are controlling the hurt so that hurt cannot control you. And there is a terrible intelligence in this, a heartbreaking wisdom, even if it keeps you trapped in exactly the thing you are trying to escape. There is a question you must ask yourself, and it is not, why do I keep making these mistakes? The question is, what am I still trying to earn? What am I still trying to prove? What ancient verdict am I still trying to overturn with my choices? Because every time you choose what diminishes you, you are actually choosing to testify in a trial that ended long ago. You are still trying to convince someone from your past that you are worthy, lovable enough. You are still performing for an audience that will never applaud, still seeking approval from voices that exist now only as echoes in your own mind. Your wrong decisions are not random. They are ritualistic. They are your unconscious attempt to rewrite a history that cannot be changed, to win a love that was never yours to earn in the first place. You are trying to heal an old wound with a new knife, trying to fill an ancient void with contemporary substitutes, trying to solve a childhood equation with adult variables. And it will never work. It will never work. Not because you are doing it wrong, but because the premise itself is flawed. You cannot make someone from your past love you differently by choosing someone in your present who loves you the same way. You cannot prove to the parent who rejected you that you were worth keeping by staying with the partner who also rejects you. You cannot earn the approval you never received by sacrificing yourself to people who will never see your sacrifice as enough. Understand this. You are not out of sync. You are synchronized with pain that was never meant to be yours, moving to the rhythm of someone else's limitation, dancing to the melody of another's inability to love well. And until you see this, until you truly understand that your choices are not defying your wisdom, but expressing your wounds, you will remain at war with yourself, believing you are broken when you are actually just loyal, thinking you are weak when you are actually just waiting, convinced you are foolish when you are actually just faithful to a hope that refuses to die, no matter how many times it has been disappointed. This is not brokenness. This is a kind of heartbreaking perseverance, a refusal to give up on the possibility that if you just try hard enough, love differently enough, perform perfectly enough, the love you needed then will finally arrive now. But it will not arrive. Not there. Not from them. Not through repetition of the pattern that created the wound. The love you are seeking cannot be found in the past. It cannot be earned from people who are incapable of giving it. It can only be given by you to you in the present moment, over and over again, until your body finally believes what your mind has always known, that you were always worthy, always enough, always deserving of the love you have been chasing in all the wrong directions. The path forward is not to think harder. It is to feel safer. It is not to gather more information about what you should do. It is to build more capacity for what you have never been allowed to feel, because you already know what the right choice is. You have always known, but you do not yet feel worthy of making it. You do not yet trust that you can survive the grief of letting go, the anger of setting boundaries, the loneliness of walking away, the guilt of choosing yourself. And so you stay, and so you return, and so you repeat. Not because you are stupid, but because you are human, because you are doing what all humans do when they have been hurt, which is to search desperately for the love they missed in places where that love does not live and never will. You are looking for water in the desert. and you are so thirsty that you keep believing the mirage is real. Keep walking toward the shimmering promise on the horizon. Keep telling yourself that this time it will be different. This time the water will be there. But the desert does not hold water. It never did. And you can walk 1,000 miles deeper into that desert, and all you will find is more sand, more heat, more thirst. The water you seek is not ahead of you. It is within you. It has always been within you, but you have been taught that your own well is empty, that your own source is not enough, that you must find it outside yourself or die trying. What you call poor decisions are actually sophisticated survival strategies that worked once and now no longer serve you, but still feel safer than the risk of something new. You learned to be small because being large was dangerous. You learned to be quiet because speaking was punished. You learned to accept less because asking for more led to abandonment. And these lessons were not wrong when you learned them. They kept you alive. They helped you navigate a world where your authentic self was not welcome. But you are no longer in that world, even though your body has not yet received the message. You are free now, but you are still living as if you are caged. You have the key, but you are so habituated to the bars that you do not even see the open door. You have been released, but you are still performing captivity, still moving within the boundaries of a prison that no longer exists except in your muscle memory, in your reflexes, in your automatic responses to situations that merely resemble but are not identical to the dangers you once faced. You are fighting ghosts. You are protecting yourself from threats that are no longer present. You are solving problems that have already been solved. And this is not stupidity. This is the way trauma works. It freezes you in time. It keeps you living in the past, even when your body occupies the present. It makes you see danger where there is only possibility, threat where there is only invitation, betrayal where there is only love trying to reach you. The moment of awakening comes when you stop asking what is wrong with me and start asking what happened to me. When you stop viewing your choices as evidence of deficiency and start seeing them as evidence of something far more painful, which is that you have been doing your very best with the tools you were given, and those tools were simply inadequate for the life you are trying to build. You are not failing at being wise. You are succeeding at being wounded. And there is a kind of terrible grace in recognizing this, because once you see it, once you really see it, you can finally stop fighting yourself and start tending to yourself instead. You can finally stop asking, why am I so stupid? And start asking what part of me is so hurt that it cannot accept goodness. You can finally stop demanding that you be better and start exploring what made better feel so dangerous in the first place. This shift from judgment to curiosity, from criticism to compassion, is the moment when everything changes. Not because the pattern disappears overnight, but because you stop being at war with the pattern and start being in relationship with it. You stop trying to kill the wound and start trying to understand it. And in that understanding, in that willingness to see your choices not as failures but as messages, you begin to decode what your soul has been trying to tell you all along. You have been trying to logic your way out of choices that are driven by emotion. You have been trying to think your way out of patterns that live in your body. This is like trying to heal a broken bone with mathematics. The equation is correct, but it is solving the wrong problem. What you need is not more knowledge about what you should do. What you need is more safety in your nervous system so that your body will allow you to do what you already know. What you need is not a stronger mind. What you need is a softer landing for all the feelings you have been running from your entire life. You need to learn that sadness will not destroy you, that anger will not consume you, that grief will not drown you, that loneliness will not kill you. You need to discover that these feelings, the ones you have been avoiding through every wrong choice, are actually the pathway through, not the trap to escape. They are the river you must cross, not the flood you must outrun. And yes, the river is cold. Yes, the current is strong. Yes, you do not know if you can make it to the other side, but you cannot know until you stop standing on the bank, analyzing the water, calculating the risk, trying to think your way across. At some point, you must step in, you must feel the cold, you must let the current take you where it will, you must trust that your body knows how to swim, even if your mind has forgotten. And here is what they will not tell you, what the world of self-improvement and personal development and positive thinking will never admit. Sometimes the most intelligent thing you can do is make the wrong choice consciously. Sometimes you need to return to the wound one more time, not because you are stupid, but because you are thorough, because you need to feel the full weight of what no longer serves you before you can truly walk away. Sometimes you need to taste the poison again, with your eyes wide open so that your body, not just your mind, can finally understand that this is death, not nourishment. Do not shame yourself for the circling back. The spiral is not a sign of failure. It is the shape of deep learning, the geography of transformation. You're not going backwards. You are gathering evidence. You are building the case that will finally convince the part of you that has refused to let go. You are creating the experience that will make the wisdom undeniable, not just intellectually understood, but cellularly known, written into your bones, carved into your memory in a way that cannot be argued away or rationalized back into the pattern. Sometimes you must return to the burning house one more time to truly understand that it is on fire, that it has always been on fire, that you will not save it by staying inside it, that the only thing you will save by leaving is yourself. You are intelligent enough to see the pattern. Now you must become compassionate enough to understand it. You are wise enough to know the right path. Now you must become brave enough to grieve what you will lose by walking it. Because every yes to your
authentic self is a no to the false self you built to survive. And that false self, no matter how much pain it has caused you, has also been your companion, your protector, your strategy for making it through. Letting it go is not a simple matter of choosing better. It is a death. It is a divorce. It is a goodbye to parts of yourself that you have known longer than you have known your own name. It is the end of a way of being that has defined you, shaped you, given you a role to play in the world, even if that role was the one who suffers, the one who endures, the one who saves everyone but themselves. Who will you be without that role? Who will you be if you are not the strong one, the patient one, the one who can handle anything? Who will you be if you stop proving your worth through suffering and start claiming it through presence? Who will you be when you are no longer performing, no longer earning, no longer trying to convince anyone that you deserve to be here? These are not easy questions. They are the questions that make you reach for the wrong choice again, because the wrong choice is familiar, and these questions are terrifying. But they are also the questions that will set you free if you can sit with them long enough to let them crack you open. You do not need answers. You need the courage to not know, to stand in the space between who you have been and who you might become, to tolerate the vertigo of possibility, the groundlessness of transformation. This is where the real intelligence lives. Not in having the answers, but in having the presence to sit with the questions until they transform from torture into teachers. Not in knowing what to do, but in being willing to not know, to wait, to listen, to let the next step reveal itself not through force, but through attention, not through willpower, but through willingness. The seed does not force itself to become a tree. It simply breaks open and allows what is already inside it to emerge. And you are that seed. You have always been that seed, but you have been trying to become the tree through effort, through striving, through pushing, through doing it right. And all the while, what you needed was simply to stop, to soften, to let the breaking open happen, to trust that what emerges will be exactly what you were always meant to become. The discord you feel is not a flaw, it is a threshold. It is the space between who you have been and who you are becoming. It is the trembling moment when the seed understands it must break open to become the tree. And yes, it is painful. Yes, it is confusing. Yes, you will make the wrong choice several more times before you make the right one. But each wrong choice is teaching you something that right choices never could. It is teaching you your own limits. It is showing you the depth of your hunger. It is revealing to you the exact shape of the void you have been trying to fill with everything except what it actually needs, which is your own presence,
your own tenderness, your own unflinching willingness to be with yourself exactly as you are in all your contradiction, in all your confusion, in all your imperfect, stumbling, very human attempts to find your way home to a self you have never fully met. The wrong choices are not detours. They are the path. They are showing you with painful precision what does not work, so that when you finally choose what does work, you will know it, not because someone told you, not because you read it in a book, but because you have earned that knowing through lived experience, through trial and error, through falling and rising and falling again, until the rising becomes natural, automatic, the only response you know. You make the wrong decisions, not because you are out of sync, but because you are deeply, painfully, perfectly in sync with a history that is ready to become memory, a pain that is ready to become wisdom, a pattern that is ready to become a choice. The intelligence was never the problem, the safety was, and safety is not something you think your way into. It is something you feel your way toward, one brave, trembling, imperfect step at a time. You do not need to be smarter. You need to be softer with yourself. You do not need more knowledge. You need more permission to honor what you already know. You do not need to fix what is broken. You need to love what is breaking open. You need to see that the breaking is not the end of you. It is the beginning. It is the cracking of the shell that has kept you contained, safe, small. It is the earthquake that precedes new ground. It is the labor that comes before birth. And labor is not gentle. It is not easy. It does not ask your permission. It comes when it is time. And all you can do is breathe through it, trust it, let it move through you, knowing that on the other side of this, breaking is something you have never seen before, something you have always been but never had the courage to become. There will come a day when you stand at that familiar crossroads again, the one where your mind says this way and your wound says that way, and you will feel the pull, the old magnetic draw toward what hurts, and you will recognize it for what it is. Not a failure, not a weakness, not evidence of your stupidity, but a messenger, a teacher, a signal that something in you is still unhealed, still unloved, still waiting to be seen. And on that day, instead of shaming yourself for feeling the pull, you will thank it for showing you where the work still lives. You will turn toward the wound with curiosity instead of judgment, with compassion instead of criticism. You will ask it what it needs, what it fears, what it is protecting you from. And in that asking, in that turning toward instead of away, you will discover that the wrong choice loses its power. Not because you have become stronger, but because you have become softer. Not because you have more willpower, but because you have more awareness. Not because you have defeated the wound, but because you have finally stopped fighting it and started listening to it instead. And when you listen, when you really listen, you will hear what it has been trying to tell you all along, that it is tired, that it wants to rest, that it has been protecting you for so long, and it is ready to lay down its armor if you will only promise to protect yourself instead. The wound is not your enemy. The wound is your teacher. It has been trying to show you something all along, through every wrong choice, through every painful repetition, through every moment of self-betrayal. It has been trying to show you what you still believe about yourself that is not true, what you still believe about love that is not real, what you still believe about your worth that is not accurate. And until you see what the wound is teaching, you will keep returning to the lesson, keep choosing the same pain, keep wondering why your wisdom does not translate into right action. But it will translate. The moment you stop demanding that it translate and start letting it reveal, the moment you stop trying to force a new choice and start understanding the old one, everything shifts. Not because you have changed what you do, but because you have changed how you see what you do. And in that seeing, in that understanding, in that radical self-compassion, the change you have been striving for arrives not as achievement, but as grace, not as conquest, but as natural consequence, not as victory over yourself, but as reunion with yourself. You do not become someone new. You remember who you always were beneath the strategies, beneath the wounds, beneath the desperate attempts to earn what was always yours by birthright. And when you are ready, when you have circled back enough times that your soul is finally exhausted with the familiar pain and hungry for something new, you will find that the right choice is not harder than the wrong one. It is simply different. It asks different things of you. It requires not more intelligence, but more integrity. Not more willpower, but more self-worth. Not more discipline, but more devotion to the truth of who you actually are beneath all the strategies and performances and desperate attempts to earn a love that was always meant to be yours by birthright. The right choice asks you to believe something your experience has not yet confirmed, that you are worthy without proving it, lovable without earning it, enough without achieving it. This is the hardest thing you will ever do, not because it is complex, but because it is simple. Not because it requires skill, but because it requires trust. Trust in a goodness you have not yet experienced. Faith in a love you have not yet received. Hope in a future that looks nothing like your past. The right choice asks you to bet on yourself when all the evidence suggests that betting on yourself is a losing game. It asks you to choose your own voice over all the voices that have told you who you should be. It asks you to walk toward the unknown with nothing but your own hand to hold, trusting that your own hand is enough, that you are enough, that you have always been enough. The dawn waits for the one who stops running from the dark. If this spoke to your spirit, write in the comments, "I am awakening."